A couple of winters ago, a 63-year-old widow in Tucson was living out of her Buick in a Walmart parking lot. She had lost her apartment 4 months after losing her husband, and everything she still owned, her photo albums, her mother's china, 2 suitcases of clothes, and a sewing machine, was crammed into that back seat. Today, all of it sits safe and dry in a clean storage unit that costs her exactly $0 a month. She didn't sneak into it. She didn't beg for it. She used a system that exists in some form in every state, one that shelters and social workers use constantly, and that almost nobody on the outside has ever heard of. And there are actually 5 legal doors like it. Today, I'm walking you through all 5 in plain English, including who to call and exactly what to say, whether you need this yourself or you're trying to help a son, a sister, or a neighbor who does. But first, you need to understand why free storage exists at all. Because once you see the reason, it stops sounding too good to be true. Shelter workers across this country kept running into the same wall. One of the biggest reasons people refuse a warm bed in January is that they cannot bring their belongings inside, and they will not abandon the last things they own. A grandmother will sleep in a parked car before she leaves her photo albums on a curb. A carpenter will turn down a shelter bed rather than walk away from $2,000 of tools, which are the very things he needs to earn his way back out. Now add the money side. A basic storage unit rents for somewhere between $80 and $180 a month. Meanwhile, when a city clears an encampment, it pays crews to haul and store people's belongings, and cities have been sued for millions of dollars over exactly that. And when someone's birth certificate and social security card get rained on under a bridge, replacing them takes months, and during those months, that person cannot apply for a job, an apartment, or benefits. So, somewhere along the line, cities and charities did the arithmetic and realized something remarkable. Paying $100 a month to keep a person's life safe in a locker is one of the cheapest tools in the entire homeless response system. That's why the money exists. Your job, or the job of the person trying to help, is simply knowing where the doors are. So let's open door number 1. Method 1. The City Check-in Storage Program. A growing list of American cities runs free storage facilities built specifically for people experiencing homelessness, and most people have no idea they exist, even when one is operating a mile from where they sleep. Los Angeles runs a program called The Bin in downtown Los Angeles, where a person walks in and receives a large 60-gallon container, free of charge, inside a clean, staffed, secure warehouse. You check your belongings in, you come back and access them during open hours, and nobody can touch them but you. San Diego runs something similar called the Transitional Storage Center with hundreds of bins. Seattle, San Francisco, and a handful of other cities have their own versions, and more open every year, because the programs keep proving they work. People with safe storage show up to job interviews. They accept shelter beds. They keep their medications dry. The requirements are gentle. Typically, you need to be experiencing homelessness and able to check in on your bin every week or two, so the program knows it's still active. What you don't need is money, a credit check, or an address, which is exactly the point. And picture it accurately, because people imagine something grim, and it isn't. Rows of numbered bins in a warehouse, staff at a front desk, regulars stopping by on a Tuesday morning to swap out clothes or pick up paperwork before an appointment. Social workers will tell you that having one stable, lockable, completely private space changes how a person carries themselves within a month. Finding out if your area has one takes a single phone call. You dial 211 from any phone. That's a free helpline that covers the whole United States, staffed by real people whose entire job is knowing what help exists in your county. You say these words: "I need to know if there is a storage program for people experiencing homelessness in this area." If the answer is yes, they'll tell you where. But if the answer is no, don't hang up, because that same call opens door number 2, and door number 2 exists in almost every county in America. Method 2. The emergency assistance funds that quietly pay storage bills. All across the country, there is a network of charities sitting on money that is specifically set aside for stopping small disasters before they become big ones. The Salvation Army, the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, Catholic Charities, Lutheran Social Services, and in nearly every county, something called a Community Action Agency, which is a government-funded nonprofit most people have never heard of. Most folks know these groups will help with a light bill or a month's rent. Almost nobody knows that many of them will also pay a storage bill. Think about why. If a woman is couch surfing with her sister while her entire household sits in a unit she can no longer afford, then for the cost of 1 or 2 months of fees, the charity saves furniture, tools, and keepsakes that would cost thousands to replace. That is exactly the kind of small, targeted rescue these funds were built for. Here is what you say when you call, "I'm about to lose everything I own in a storage unit, and I'm asking if you have emergency assistance that can be applied to storage fees." Say it plainly, just like that. The person on the phone has heard it before, and in many offices they can cut a check directly to the storage company within days. And here's the detail that makes that call almost impossible to refuse. The past due notice from the storage facility, the very letter people are afraid to open, is your best friend. It proves the need, names the amount, and tells the charity exactly where to send the money. Bring it with you. One more thing, because I know many of you watching aren't in crisis yourselves, but are trying to pull back a son, a daughter, a brother, or a neighbor who is. You can make every one of these calls on someone else's behalf. Charities take those calls every single day. I've also put everything in this video, plus the details that don't fit into one video, into a written guide linked in the description, and I'll tell you more about it in a few minutes. First, the method that surprises people the most, because it involves simply asking. Method 3, the direct ask at a private storage facility. Let me show you how this plays out before I explain why it works. A man in his late 50s in rural Kentucky lost his rental house after a heart attack ate his savings. He walked into a small storage facility off the state highway, the kind with gravel rows and 40-year-old orange doors, and told the owner the truth. The owner, a retired farmer himself, gave him a 10x10 unit in exchange for mowing the grass strip along the fence line every other week through the summer. That handshake kept a lifetime of carpentry tools safe for 11 months. And when the man got back on his feet, those tools were what he used to do it. His trade survived because his tools did. Not furniture, futures. Now, why did that work? Because a storage facility with 600 units almost never has 600 paying customers. There are always empty doors, and an empty unit earns the owner exactly nothing while it sits there. Managers also have far more discretion than the sign on the office wall suggests. Some facilities have quiet hardship policies. Some owners donate a handful of units to local churches and shelters every year, partly out of goodness and partly because it's a tax deduction. And some will strike a simple work trade arrangement, a free unit in exchange for a few hours of sweeping the rows or painting doors each week. None of that is advertised anywhere. It happens because somebody walked into the office, was honest, and asked. So here is the approach. You go in person during a quiet weekday hour, dressed as neatly as your situation allows, and you say something like this: "I've hit hard times and I'm about to lose my belongings. I'm not asking for a handout. Is there any arrangement, any work I could do, or any small unit that's sitting empty that could keep my things safe for a few months while I get back on my feet?" The worst answer you can get is no, and it costs you nothing. And it works most often at the small, family-owned facilities out on the edge of town, not the big corporate chains. Whatever arrangement you land, put it in writing. Even a handwritten page works. The date, your name, their name, a list of what's stored, how long it can stay, and both signatures. That one page prevents your belongings from ever being mistaken for abandoned property, and it protects the kind soul helping you just as much as it protects you. Now, the next door is a special one. It only opens for some of the people watching this, but for them, it opens wider than all the others combined. Method 4, the veteran door. If you served in the United States military, or if the person you're trying to help did, the rules of this entire video change in your favor. There is a federal program called Supportive Services for Veteran Families, which sends money through the VA to local nonprofits in every state, and that money can legally be spent on things most assistance programs won't touch. Moving costs, security deposits, and yes, storage fees, paid directly, sometimes for months at a time, while a veteran gets back into housing. There are also programs that combine housing vouchers with case management and dedicated staff whose entire job is finding veterans who fell through the cracks. The tragedy is that enormous numbers of veterans sleeping in cars and shelters right now have no idea any of it exists. One phone call to the VA's Homeless Veterans Hotline or a visit to any VA office with the words, "I'm a veteran and I'm losing my housing," starts a process that regular civilians simply do not have access to. If that's you, your husband, your father, or your son, that call comes before everything else in this video. And this is the written guide I mentioned earlier. It's called The Veteran's Blueprint. It began as a guide for veterans, but the truth is, most of what's inside applies to anyone who is out of money, anyone sleeping in a car tonight, and anyone trying to pull a person they love back from the edge. A video can hand you the map. The blueprint is the door-to-door directions, the exact programs by name, the exact words to say on each phone call, and printed checklists you can hand straight to a caseworker or keep by the phone, all in writing, where you can read it at your own pace and come back to it as many times as you need. The link is in the description below. If you're in that situation tonight, or your son or daughter is, go get it when this video ends. It's there for you. Now back to the 5 doors, because the last one is the strangest of all. It's the door that opens all the other doors. Method 5, the case manager door. Everything I've shown you so far, you can do alone with a phone. But there is a version of this world where you stop making cold calls entirely, because someone whose full-time job is knowing the system starts making them for you. Every region of the country has something called coordinated entry, which is the official front door of the homeless services system. You reach it through 211, through any shelter, or through a local homeless services agency. You sit down for one intake appointment, you answer questions about your situation, and you get entered into the system that decides who gets which help. And here is the part that never gets explained. Once you're in that system, you can be assigned a case manager, and case managers hold keys that do not exist for the general public. There are funding streams with names like rapid rehousing and homelessness prevention that can pay for storage as part of getting someone housed, but the money can usually only be unlocked by a caseworker filing the request. There are storage units that charities hold year-round, empty and waiting, that are only handed out through referral. There are landlords who only rent to people who come with a case manager attached. The widow in Tucson I told you about at the start, this was her door. A caseworker at a family services agency got her storage bill covered through a prevention fund with one form, and 8 months later, that same caseworker helped her into a senior apartment. The storage unit held her life safely in the middle while the climb happened. That's what these programs are actually for. So those are the 5 doors. Now give me 2 more minutes, because the mistakes are where people lose everything, and I mean that literally. Mistake number 1, and it's the big one. You never, ever sleep or live inside a storage unit. I understand the temptation completely. It's dry, it's private, and it locks. But it is against the law everywhere in America. It violates every rental agreement ever written. And the moment you're discovered, and people are always discovered, you're banned from the property and can lose access to everything inside. Worse, units have no ventilation, no fire exit, and doors that can trap you. People have died this way. A storage unit protects your belongings so that you can take a shelter bed, or a couch, or a car seat without abandoning your life. Use it for that. Mistake number 2, going silent when you can't pay. In every state, a storage facility that goes unpaid gains the legal right, often after 30 to 90 days, to cut your lock and auction everything inside. Those auctions you've seen on television are real people's photo albums and wedding dresses. But here's what the shows never tell you. Managers hate auctions. They're paperwork, they're legally risky, and they rarely recover the debt. So the moment you know you can't pay, Walk into that office and talk. Ask about a payment plan. Make a partial payment, which in many states pauses the clock. Tell them a charity check is coming, and remember from method 2 that past due notice is exactly what gets the check written. And open every letter the facility sends you, because in most states, the law requires a formal notice before any auction can happen, and that notice tells you the exact deadline and the exact amount that stops everything. People throw those letters away unopened out of fear and lose their mother's china over a date they never read. Silence is the only strategy that guarantees you lose. Mistake number 3, putting your vital documents in the unit. Your birth certificate, your social security card, your ID, your discharge papers if you served. Those never go in storage. They stay on your person or with someone you trust completely, because every single program in this video will ask for them, and a padlocked unit across town can stand between you and the help itself. And mistake number 4, grabbing one of those first month free promotional units without reading what month 2 costs. Facilities use cheap first months as bait, and the regular rate can be double what you assumed. If you're using a promo as a bridge, that's fine, but know the real number. Put the due date somewhere you'll see it, and make your method 2 phone calls before the bill lands, not after. Here's what I want you to leave with. The phone in your pocket already holds the number that starts all of this. Somewhere in your county tonight, there is a charity fund, a church basement, a half-empty storage facility, or a caseworker's referral list that could carry everything a person owns through the worst season of their life. So here's your one step. This week, dial 211, whether it's for you or for someone you love, and ask what storage and emergency assistance exists where you live. That call is free, and it might change everything. And hit subscribe before you go, because next week I'm showing you how people without an address legally get free mail service through the United States Post Office, which fixes the one problem every program in this video asks about first. That one takes about 10 minutes to set up, and I'll walk you through every step. I'll see you next week.